It sounded super, and it certainly had super hype. A supercomputer owned by the state of New Mexico to be used to attract business and generate jobs. Well, 3 years and 19 million taxpayer dollars later, News 13 investigative reporter Larry Barker has discovered that the supercomputer is a super flop.
It bothers me that we have an investment that's not returning anything.
If we knew then what we know now, I guarantee that both chambers would have voted against buying the supercomputer.
It probably should go the way of the state jet.
It's an $11 million machine, twice as expensive as a state jet. Yet few people have ever seen it, and only a handful understand what it does. New Mexico's supercomputer is shrouded in mystery.
Have you ever had a single constituent ever come up to you and say, "What in the heck are you doing about that supercomputer?"
No. That's the challenge.
Governor Richardson's science advisor, Tom Bowles, came up with the idea to buy a supercomputer.
The mission is to grow economic development, create high-tech jobs in the state.
In 2007, the state jumped into the world of supercomputing, plopping down $11 million for the third most powerful device in the world.
New Mexico's system is capable of 172 trillion calculations a second. It's the rough equivalent of 484,000, or about 500,000 laptops linked together.
Supercomputers are used to solve complex problems for such things as genetics, medicine, and climate. The machine is housed under tight security at Intel. The electricity bill alone tops $1 million a year. The promise? To generate enough revenue to be self-sustaining. It would be our own field of dreams. Build it, and they will come. But in New Mexico, they didn't come.
It was supposed to be a revenue-generating enterprise, that we would sell time on the supercomputer to commercial enterprises and be able to generate a revenue. That hasn't happened.
More than 100,000 jobs have been run on the supercomputer. With all those processors working overtime, they should be rolling in dough. Aurora Sanchez is an analyst for the Legislative Finance Committee.
All the use of the supercomputer has been free.
Come on.
It's true. To date, we don't know of anybody that has actually paid to use the supercomputer, and that includes universities, the 2 national labs, or the 2 nonprofits that use it for their purposes.
For example, in the last fiscal year, the supercomputer churned out more than 46,000 jobs.
Was the supercomputer compensated in cash for any of these jobs?
Can I look at the specific list? For this set of jobs, I do not believe that we were.
You didn't receive cash for any of these jobs?
I do not believe so.
That's right. UNM doesn't pay. Neither does Sandia Labs or Los Alamos. All that computer time was simply given away or traded for in-kind services. And it's not just science. Promoters claim the supercomputer will draw the digital media industry to the state for special effects and animation rendering. But the only production company to take advantage of the offer is the California-based DreamWorks. The firm has paid $500,000 to the Computer Center. Their film Shrek Forever After was partially animated here.
How many other companies use it other than DreamWorks?
Right now, no one.
2 years ago, Governor Richardson announced the DreamWorks deal would create 30 new jobs. They never materialized. And Richardson claimed there would be 65 new jobs when a California firm, the Insigniam Innovation Discovery Center, moved to the state to use the computer for healthcare modeling.
That was 2 years ago. Today, don't bother looking for Insigniam in the phone book. They're not here. Apparently, Governor Richardson spoke too soon. Has Insigniam used the supercomputer?
Insigniam to date has not yet used the supercomputer.
Were those 60 new jobs that the governor said would be created?
Well, I believe they still will be created. He said would be created.
The Insigniam deal is not the only supercomputer deception. Revenue projections have been wildly exaggerated. The economic benefit was overstated. And all those new jobs, they simply haven't yet materialized.
We're bringing jobs to the state that wouldn't have been here without the computing center.
Can you point to a single business that has moved here to New Mexico because of the supercomputer?
At present, no.
The reality is that the supercomputer is not generating sufficient revenues to pay its annual expenses, and it is not drawing any companies.
What does the supercomputer represent today in New Mexico?
A white elephant, an idea that didn't work.
It's not being run as a business. I think the people running the computer are basically scientists that know a lot about computers, but maybe not a lot about business models and how to make something pay. If you're using the taxpayers' money and trying to create jobs and create revenue for the state, I think we're on the wrong course.
Taxpayers have already poured $19 million into the supercomputer. However, last year, the legislature cut its appropriation to zero.
I personally have not seen a direct benefit to my constituents from the way the supercomputer is being operated now, and that definitely concerns me. They're going to have to generate revenue to live, and if they don't, this is one legislator that's not going to vote for any additional appropriations for the operation of the supercomputer.
Some legislators say it's time to pull the plug.
It's turned out to be kind of a bad investment. One of the big problems is the value goes down every year, every month, as far as what the asset is worth. We paid $11 million. It'd be hard to get much out of it right now.
The supercomputer's future is in the hands of the governor.
I think what the supercomputer is a symbol of excess. We have analyzed the situation, we have seen what the previous administration has invested in it, and we have looked to see what we have gotten back in revenue. It doesn't match up whatsoever.
Governor Martinez says it's time to get out of the supercomputer business.
It's unacceptable to the taxpayer, and so we've got to stop investing good dollars into that project because it's not proving itself to be useful whatsoever. Just like the jet, it has to be beneficial to the state of New Mexico, and we cannot continue to have this culture of excess just because we can.
I would tell the critics, why don't you wait 5 months and see whether or not we're able to achieve self-sustaining operation or not.
Selling used supercomputers can be tricky. The governor hopes New Mexico's device will go for about $6 million. Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.
A lot more detail about this, and if you would like to see the Legislative Finance Committee report on the supercomputer, you can go to news links at krqe.com.
Any chance we could